Thank you for joining me today for another fun video. Today we're going to be making these cute snow baby boots. They're crochet. They have kind of a knit look on the top. I whipped up this pair last night. I actually first made this years ago and I cannot find the pair that I made years ago. So I whipped this one up last night as well as the first one for the newborn size. So this is a newborn size. This is the one size bigger and it goes all the way up to 18 months. So there's 4 different sizes in this pattern. Today I'm going to be making the matching booty for the newborn size. I'll be using the color pink. This is the frosting and swish worsted weight. I made this one with the swish nutmeg heather. I love this yarn. It's so squishy. It is 100% fine superwash merino wool. And it is fantastic for this. For the tops of these, so this fluffy white yarn, I used Snuggle Puff. This is also a worsted / Aran. It's a bit puffier, which I do like for this pattern. It creates those nice touches in those areas. This is worked from one piece. We'll start with the bottom and we'll just keep on working all the way to the top until we have a cute little snow booty. Today you'll also need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle to weave in those ends. A stitch marker is always a smart thing to have, and then a size 4 G hook is 4 millimeters. I'll be using the tulip one today. Use your favorite hook. I have a list of my favorite hooks on the blog and I'll be linking that in this post. So let's go ahead and get started with the newborn size. So to get started with the baby newborn size, and that's the size I'm going to be showing on the screen, this cute little one. This is the smallest size. And if you want to make the other sizes, the instructions for those are on my blog, or you can download the ad-free PDF. So to get started with the baby size with our color A, so I'm calling the body of this booty and the bottom part of it the color A, and then this white part is the color B. That way, if you're choosing to work with different yarn and you're still meeting the gauge, then you just go by color A and B. It's not too confusing. I'm going to start by making a slip knot and placing that onto my hook. And then we're going to chain 7. This is the type of chain we'll be working all the way around all sides of it. So whenever you start a project like that, it is wise to actually tighten down that chain quite a bit. So we're going to start by chaining 7, and you're going to chain them a little bit tighter than you normally would. And that's because we're really going to be working into a lot of these chains. So after chaining 7, we are going to do 2 half double crochets in the second chain from the hook. There's 1 and 2. Now we're going to half double crochet into the next 4 chains. So we're just working down one side of this chain. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now in this very last chain, so this small little last chain right here, we are going to half double crochet 6 stitches all into that last chain. And watch what happens here, what I kind of do, because 6 stitches is a lot. So we're kind of rotating around this like first slip knot, and I'm just going to keep on going. I'm still inserting into that last one, but as we place 6 half double crochets in there, we're already naturally rotating our work. So we're going to kind of keep rotating our work clockwise, and now we're going to be half double crocheting down the other side of this chain. So we will half double crochet 4, oh, I missed one there. Make sure I'm getting into each side of this chain here. So half double crochet 4 down this side. And then we're going to be working right back into that first space we worked in when we started. And we're going to do an additional 2 half double crochets into that space. So now we've worked all the way around, and this is our very first stitch. I probably should have marked it. It's a good idea to keep your stitch marker around so you know where you're working. We do still have, you can see a few gaps in here. You can use your tail end to kind of close some of those holes to make that flat really that starting row really tight. But what I'm going to do now, I'm done with all the stitches for round 1. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first stitch of this round. And now it's complete and we can start round 2. For this round, I'm definitely going to be using a stitch marker. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 2 for round 2. And this chain does not count as a stitch. Then I'm going to do 2 2 half double crochets into each of the next 2. So we're going to put 2 half double crochets in the first and 2 half double crochets in the second stitch. And now we're going to single crochet 4. So we're single crochet in the next 4 stitches. And now we're going to be placing 2 half double crochet stitches into each of the next 6. So for the next 6 stitches, we'll be placing 2 half double crochets into each. And then we're going to single crochet into the next 4 stitches. And then we're going to do 2 half double crochets into each of the last 2. And you can go ahead and call me a liar because I did not use my stitch marker. Like I said, I was going to. I've made a few of these, so it's making sense to me. But if it's your first time making one of these stitch markers, marking the first stitch of the round is a fantastic idea, because I'm going to be skipping my chain stitches from the beginning of this round and slip stitching to the first stitch of this round to end round 2. Now at the end of round 1 you had 18 stitches, and at the end of round 2 we have 28, and now we're ready for round 3. For round 3, we're going to start by chaining 1, and this chain does not count as a stitch. And then we're going to single crochet into the next, and this time I'm going to remember to mark it. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets into the next. And now we're going to do that twice. So we're going to single crochet in the next, and then 2 single crochets into the one after that. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 4 stitches. And now we're going to do a 2 single crochet in the next, and then a single crochet in the next after that. And once again, we're going to repeat that again. So we're going to do that twice. So 2 single crochets, and then single crochet. And then we are going to single crochet 4. And then we are going to do a single crochet in the next, and then 2 single crochets into the next stitch, and then do that twice. So we'll do it again. We'll do a single crochet and 2 single crochets into the next, and then we will single crochet 4. And now for this last part, we have 4 stitches left. So we will be doing 2 single crochets into the next, and a single crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to work that again. So 2 single crochets, and then single crochet. And then we're going to do a slip stitch to join, but we are not going to fasten off our color A, but we're going to be bringing in our color B. So whenever I bring in a new color, I like to do my join with that color. So it's kind of like completing this last stitch with the new color so that I'm set up and ready for my next round. And I'm going to slip stitch. So now we're ready for round 4. Now this is a slip stitch, so that is not a stitch. We don't count that as a stitch. We're going to start round 4 by chaining 1, and then we're going to be single crocheting into the back loop only of every stitch around. Now if we look at the top of our stitches, they look like V's running along there. We have a front loop and a back loop, and we only want to work in the back loop only all the way around. We can mark that first stitch of the round. We're going to keep doing a single crochet into the back loop only for all 36 stitches around. So here we are with round 5. I've worked round 4 all the way around in the back loops only for 36 stitches. For round 5, we're not changing the stitch count. We're going to keep it the same. And notice I still have my color A attached. We'll be going back to that on round 6. So I'm just leaving it. It's just one less end to weave in and it'll be on the inside of the shoe. Now for round 5, we are going to be working a single crochet into the 3rd loop of a single crochet stitch. If you've never done this before, you're in for a treat to see how this works up. This is what makes those really cool knit look lines. So it's a really fun stitch to do, but it might take a little bit of practice the first time you do it. So I'm going to go ahead at the end of round 5 and I'm going to join with a slip stitch. I like to tighten those down. And now for the first stitch. So if we turn these around, your very first one might be a bit difficult to look into. So I'm going to show you on the second stitch more so. So our first stitch in a round is this stitch. And instead of single crocheting through the front of the stitch or even into the front or the back loops, we're going to go all the way to the back here. And on the back side, we see these horizontal bars. So I'm going to turn around so you can kind of see. We can see that we have these horizontal bars that run all the way along the back of our stitches. This is called the 3rd loop, probably because the first loop is our front loop. The second loop is our back loop, and then we've got this 3rd loop that sits on the back of our stitch. We are going to be working single crochet stitches into that loop all the way around. Now sometimes it is a bit harder than working a regular single crochet, mainly because getting into that 3rd loop is something to get used to. So there's my first stitch. I'm going to mark it. I like to kind of grab the stitch and pull it down a bit, and then I get into that 3rd loop a bit easier. This is where having a sharper tipped crochet hook is an advantage. I don't really in these, they're more of like a tapered top, but I can still do it. So this round will go a little bit slower than what the last rounds were because it takes a few extra seconds for the stitches to get used to them and then also to get your hook right into that 3rd loop. So work all the way around, single crocheting in that 3rd loop, and look, we can already see what's happening here. It's absolutely gorgeous. So working with the color B, work that all the way around. So now that I've worked round 5 into the 3rd loop only, it's time to go back to working with our color A. So we can go ahead and we can fasten off our color B and set that aside for now. And we're going to go back to working in our color A. And once again, I do like to take my last stitch and yarn over with my new color before finishing that stitch. That way I'm all set up and ready to go. And then for this one, I'm going to actually join, because I'll be working round 6 into the 3rd loops too. So it's just a repeat around 5, but we're going to be using our color A this time. I'm actually going to slip stitch to join to that 3rd loop because it will be less conspicuous of a join. Now I'm going to chain 1 and we are going to single crochet into the 3rd loop all the way around for 36 stitches for this size. So it's a lot easier sometimes when you're changing yarns like this to see it a bit better, but we're just going to be working that 3rd loop, taking our time with it because it's really worth that effort of having those cool lines along the bottom of this snow baby booty. All right, so now that we've completed round 6, it's time for round 7, and this is where we're really going to see this take place to shape it into a booty, because right now it doesn't really look like it's going to be, but I promise this next round you'll really see it come together. So now that I've worked my round 6, I'm going to go ahead and join to the first stitch of the round with a slip stitch, and for round 7 I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet into the first 3 stitches of the round. Going to mark my first stitch with my stitch marker, and now I'm going to do 2 single crochets into the next stitch and then single crochet into the next 5, and then I'll half double crochet 1. And now here's where it gets fun. We're going to be creating this textured stitch that's on top, and it also decreases. It's called a fork cluster decrease, and here's how it's done. we're going to yarn over and insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then we're going to yarn over and insert into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we have 5 loops on our hook, so we will yarn over and pull through the first 3 loops. Now we have 3 loops on our hook, we will yarn over and pull through all 3 of those, and that is a fork cluster decrease. So let's do that again. We will be doing this 8 times across here. So that's our first one. It's taking 2 stitches and decreasing to 1 in a unique way. So we're going to yarn over and insert the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and insert into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 3, and then yarn over and pull through 3. So now I've done 2 fork cluster decreases, and I need to do 8 total. So as you notice, these fork cluster decreases are really bringing this in for shape. Now I'm on my 8th one, and I just want to note, when I do that first yarn over, I make sure that this stitch is held quite tightly so that I'm not getting a loose stitch at the end. I want this to have a really nice look. And we'll finish that last fork cluster decrease. And now I'm going to half double crochet into the next stitch, single crochet into the next 5 stitches, place 2 single crochet stitches into the next stitch, and then we're going to single crochet into the last 3 stitches of the round, and we will join. So at the end of round 7, we will have a total of 30 stitches. And now for round 8, we are going to start this round with a chain 1, and we're going to single crochet into the first 8 stitches. I'm going to go ahead and mark the very first stitch of my round with my stitch marker. Now I'll half double crochet 1, and then we're going to do 6 fork cluster decreases. Now when working these cluster decreases, I do keep my tension decently tight so that it really does pull these the booty in, creating a nice cute texture on the front. You can see now where the front of the foot will go. It's so cute. So after doing 6 fork cluster decreases, we are going to half double crochet into the next, and then single crochet in the last 8 stitches of round 8. At the end of this round, we will have a total of 24 stitches. And now it's time for round 9. I'm going to move my stitch marker here. Join to the first stitch of the round, and for round 9, chain 1. And I'm going to single crochet into the first 7 stitches. Then we're going to half double crochet 1 and do 4 fork cluster decreases. And then we will half double crochet 1 and single crochet into the last 7 stitches. And at the end of round 9, you will have 20 stitches. So we'll join at the end of round 9 with a slip stitch. We're going to chain 1 for round 10. And then we're going to do something similar again, but we're just working this shape up. So we are going to single crochet into the first 7. Then do a half double crochet stitch into the next. And now we're going to do 2 fork cluster decreases. And then we will half double crochet into the next and single crochet in the remaining 7 stitches of round 10. And at the end of round 10, you will have 18 stitches left. Now for rounds 11 and round 12, we are simply joining at the end of each round, chaining 1 for round 11, and we're going to single crochet into each stitch around, and we'll do the same thing for round 12. So come back after round 12. Now at the end of round 12, we still just have 18 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and fasten off this color and weave it in. And I know our booty kind of looks a little bit funny right now. This is how most of them work when they're all smushed up like this, and we don't have it quite finished just yet. So for joining, I still like to do the invisible join where I go through the stitch and then back down the top of my last stitch worked, but I like to pull this invisible join a bit tighter. Normally I leave it like this. I can, but we'll be working split single crochet, so it might get confusing. So a lot of times I'll pull it a bit tighter to just kind of make it go away and then weave in my ends. So now we're going to go ahead and grab our bee color again, and we're going to look and see what stitch is about center on the front, and then turn it around, and we're going to be entering that stitch from the wrong side facing us. Now when we do this, because this round is going to be worked as split single crochets, I like to make sure that I'm entering the upside down V on this side. So right underneath that horizontal bar, there is an upside down V. And when I come out the front side, I'm going through the right side up V. And I'm going to attach my yarn. Now this is hard for you to do the split single crochets for the first round. That's okay. You can just single crochet this in regular single crochets for this round. So now I'm just going to be working in rows, not rounds, going into every stitch, and I'm going to be working them as split single crochets. I do have a tutorial on this stitch. And working that all the way around. And if you ever have troubles with split single crochet, I often find it's because when we yarn over and we pull up a loop, we need to pull that loop up higher than we normally do, at least the height of this one when we give it a little tug. That way you have space to get into that stitch, into those V's on the next row. So simply do these in every stitch around. So now that I've worked all the way around, I am not going to join because we're going to be turning and working in rows for this section. So I'm going to turn my work and chain 1, and then I'm going to keep doing rows of that split single crochet. Now your first one can kind of be hard to see, so do it the best you can, but it's not as critical because we'll be finishing off that front edge. And then the next one, you're just going to be entering right underneath that horizontal bar. So you'll see this horizontal bar and an upside down V, and you're going to go right in the middle of that with your hook to complete that split single crochet. And when we look on the other side, we're coming out right into the center of that V. So we're going to be doing this for the cuff for this size. This is row 2. We want to also repeat row 2 2 more times. So we'll have 4 rows of this, and then we'll come back for the next section. So now I have turned chain 1, and then I'm working this last round for this snow boot, and notice that the side that's facing me is the inside. It'll flip down, and this is the side that's going to be the right side of our work when we flip it down. So working this last row, this is the side that should be facing you, and as you work across this row and you come to the end of it, we're not going to stop and turn. We're going to go ahead and work across this front section. So on these corners here, we will want to chain 1 and do an extra single crochet, because that will help keep those corners a bit more pointy and shaped. Then we're simply going to single crochet all the way across this front edge. It gives it a nice clean look to finish it off. And as we get back to the beginning here, I like to go ahead and chain 1 and then fasten off and do a invisible join. And I'm going to show you that. So I chained 1 so that this corner stays nice and clean, just like this other corner, because I like them to have a little bit of a point. It's still a soft corner, but we want it to look a little bit sharp. So we're going to insert our hook in as if where we would insert our hook to do a regular single crochet, and we're going to pull it through, and then we're going to insert down into that chain 1 stitch. And just like that, we've got a nice clean finish. You can't even tell where we started and stopped. And now I'm going to weave in the ends of my color B. And just like that, we've got a cute little cuff. And our last part that we need to do is the tassels. Is such a small detail, but it makes such a big difference. So you'll want to cut 4 strands of yarns at least 6 inches long. We will be cutting and trimming a lot off this, but I just like to have a bit of length to play with. We're going to insert our hook into that center front stitch, pull all 4 strands through down the center of them, so you're like folding it in half, pulling those through. And then we're going to take all of these strands and we're going to pull them through that loop we just made. It's called a lark's head knot. We're going to tighten that down. You can kind of pull the strands as needed. That is just so cute. It's just such an easy detail that really tops off this little cute booty. And then, of course, I made mine super long this time, but we can go ahead and even look at your other one to see the length, and then trim off the excess tassel strands, and then you've got that finished off. And that's it. Your cute little booty is done. These snow boots are so cute. I love these front tassels. They really trim off the details, and especially once they're on your baby's feet, they hold their shape. They're really nice just to wear as an extra layer around the house to have it be soft. If you have a little walker for the bigger sizes, you can take some hot glue and put some dots on the bottom to help make them less slippery on a hard floor. These are great baby gifts for baby showers. They're really, really quick to whip up, and they're so adorable. Thank you so much for joining me today for this video. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and follow along, because I'll have new projects coming up very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.